Hey everyone, we're here, we're alive. It's Matt and Gabe, ESC United, your favorite Eurovision channel. It's time for yet another episode of Mattitude, the Eurovision ice cream where we talk about, I already spoiled it, Eurovision. I got my BFF Gabe right back here. How you been, my friend?
I have been really good. I'm enjoying 2023 so far, and even this evening's show in Lithuania couldn't spoil my good mood, so I'm ready to go.
Another spoiler there. Yeah, we briefly chatted before we went live about that. It's an interesting show. We had two shows tonight. We had Norway and we had Lithuania. No, with their second heat, and Lithuania the first one. And we'll go through them one by one, of course. And then we're going to talk about anything else that has happened at Eurovision this week. I mean, not at Eurovision, in the world of Eurovision, because the contest hasn't started yet. And then, of course, in between, answer your question. Make sure you post them in the chat. Of course, super chats always support us. That is great. But just make sure if you talk to us at ESC United in the chat, so we know you talk to us and not somebody else. So, Gabe, before we jump into Norway, the first thing that happened tonight, you managed to watch last week's as well, the first heat, right?
So I actually, unfortunately, I missed the heat last week, so I was not blessed by seeing Ulrika do that live.
Did you watch the clips though, and later on, all the 7 songs yet, or not yet?
Yes, I think I've seen all of them. I've seen Ulrika. I think I also saw Rasmus and Eric, and I don't think I've seen the others yet. But this evening I watched the entire show in MGP and then blitzed through the live stream on LRT to watch all of the Pamandum is Now Joe songs back to back to ensure I've heard everything, for better or for worse.
For better or worse, and that's what we're here to talk about. But first, we get started. Just in case you also have missed the show, you need a quick reminder. I have the recap of Norway's Heat 2 from the amazing channel Misja Eurovizia. They're always so fast and does such a good job on it. So I'm just going to share that with you right here real quick. And then we'll talk about it.
Shut up and watch my
There you have it. The 7 songs, just as a quick reminder. And as it always goes, out of the 4 songs, 3 were selected by the televoters to move on to the next round. And those 3 were Yone, the first song of the night, then Elsie Bay, Love You in a Dream, and Swing It, Prohibition. Those were the 3 songs going through. That means Sandra, Alejandro, Ella, and Bjorn are out. Let's talk about the 3 qualifiers first, and then go from there. The first one that was announced in the running order, actually by when the results came in, was Swing It. And Swing It was not on many people's radar. And handing it back to you, Gabe. Based on my observation, when I saw the staging and the performance, I was like, "Uh-oh, this may go through." Not in a bad way, but I'm like, this could be the surprise qualifier. And I tweeted that there will probably be a surprise one going through. And sure enough, I was right. What did you feel? You didn't hear the songs up front, right?
So I listened to them earlier today, and I did make notes. I made notes, and the reason I did was because I knew we would learn less from tonight. I wanted to start out by saying this: we have learned less from tonight, and with every MGP show, than we have from any other national final, simply because the acts are allowed to use auto-tune.
Yes.
So we know that what we're getting is it's not real, right? So I just want to precede everything that we say with that disclaimer. As for this song, the first thing I wrote down this morning, and this still stands in my same thought, is, oh God, electro swing. At least it'll stand out, which I think was true.
Somebody said that on Twitter as well. That's why it's funny that you said that. Yeah.
But we should have learned our lesson already with electro swing and Eurovision by now. After that fever dream in 2015 that the UK sent, I remember the first note played and I immediately just went, no, not this again. And I'm stunned it went through because I thought it didn't have a chance. The only bonus points it does get is it had a sax solo. And I liked that because I am quite easily entertained. So absolutely horrific, but saved by the sax solo for me. On a serious note, I can't believe it qualified. It was a massive shock for me, as I imagine it was for a lot of people. And I had it down as one of the weakest songs in the semi, and
Really?
only distinguished by the fact that it's quite unusual.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Yeah, because it is certainly the kind of song that is not for everyone. I did a video before my top 7. I had them actually right smack in the middle, like 4th place, I think. So I was fine, but it was certainly not my favorite. But after tonight's performance, I was like, okay, I get it. This is just standing out. It has the fun factor going for it, and that's what people gravitated towards. So certainly that is a valid point you're saying, and you certainly represent a very strong or obvious demographic here, because a lot of people were shocked by it. And just putting that on screen here, Prohibition is fun, but should defo not win. And honestly, no pun intended here to Ulrika, even though it went through, I just don't see this one having really a shot making it all the way. I should be not too loud, because number one, I was never thinking that, what was it called? Nordkid, whatever they're called last year, who came second in Norway, would have a
Northkid, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. A slightest shot in there. They almost beat Subwoofer. And so I don't want to jinx it. But how do you feel? You think it has a shot at all? Even
No, I think what we're looking at a song that's going to finish down towards the bottom of the final. I think it was also benefited, I should say, by the fact that some of the other songs that didn't go through, there's the song that I thought would go through instead of it. And then the remaining 2 I thought were very bland. And so it has benefited from that. It won't have that luxury in the final. It'll obviously be up against much stiffer competition. So it's less likely to get those people who voted for it, because the people are like, oh, I remembered that. It was a fun performance, whatever else. That's not going to happen on the same level in the final. So I would expect it to be down near the bottom, if not last in the final. And that's just the way it is for this genre of music.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think that you are not wrong about this one. Again, we may just, eat our own words come like in 3 weeks, but based on my gut right now, I would agree with that. The second song that was announced, to me, not much to add. Yone Eko Ine Mek, the first song of the night. To me, when I said it online on Twitter as well, the only song that I felt super safe qualifying based on the sound, the stage, everything together. So yeah, that was not a shock to me. Gabe.
Yeah, same. I mean, based on looking at the live performances this evening, I thought he really, this was probably my second or third favorite of the live performances tonight. I thought it was strong. Again, can't speak to the vocals because we don't actually know how good they were.
I could tell he benefited from the autotune. I know. Yeah. I could tell for sure. And that's not like a diss at him. He's playing by the rules, you know. So,
but you know, I think there's going to be a few of these, and I think actually it's dangerous because for Norway, they're going to choose an act without knowing how well that performer can actually sing live. We will not have auto-tune in Eurovision. I hope we never have auto-tune in Eurovision.
we will.
As a result, I think, hey, I'm more hopeful than you, Matt. I'm more hopeful than you. I don't think we're ever going to have auto-tune in Eurovision. God help us if we do, because I think it would take away so much from the contest. I think that they are running a serious risk of sending somebody who cannot deliver the song live without help, and it could be a massive, massive negative come May. Whether that's true for this guy or not, who knows? But yeah, as somebody in chat says, all the more reason to send Ulrika. No, deserved qualifier. I wasn't surprised at all. And I think just like the betting odds reflected that as well. It was always going through.
Yes, I completely agree with that one. Real quick here. All EDM songs benefit from the auto-tune. EDM is extremely difficult to sing live. And not want to use Austria necessarily as an example as because she was especially lacking vocals, the singer. Pia was her name, right? But in general terms, it is not easy to pull up that kind of music at a contest and live that is true. So I think it's a fair statement, right? I think that's one of the things that may work against it as well. But based on this, it was pretty good. Again, not taking, auto-tune in consideration for this particular genre. And then the third one that went through, and they made it all like, oh, could it be Elsie Bay or not? But then ultimately she was the third one. I had her as my pre-favorite in this heat, and I'm glad she went through. I felt a little let down by this performance. I think that even with auto-tune, there were some bum moments, actually, even that couldn't fix. And I'm not saying she can't sing because she has done well before, but I felt as she struggled, and I felt a little bit like the oomph was missing tonight, but I'm still glad she made, and hopefully she can work on that in the finals. Were you surprised?
No, I also had this. This is my pre-heat favorite as well. I think her voice is really ethereal. It's got this really amazing quality to it, and it elevates the song. Now, the thing I was worried about beforehand was that her voice is really needed to make this performance. I shouldn't have been worried. Even though the vocal performance was nervy, it still came across fine. I think we've seen before last year, and I think we'll see in the final, she's a great singer. So I'm not worried personally, and I think she'll be fine. I'm not sure she's going to win MGP this year, but I think she has a good chance of a really strong result. Outside chance of being in that final too, which would be amazing for her. Yeah. I don't think this is the song for her to win MGP with. I think she'll be back. I think we will see her represent Norway.
3 times a charm, they say, right?
Yeah.
So I think, and this one is already a very competitive round. Before we continue, I want to see you. I know, Gabe, you already gave your opinion on Swing It. Fair enough. Totally get it. Who would you put in instead? Who was the one that out of the 4 non-qualifiers should have gone through based on your observation?
For me, it was Ella Waste. Was the one that I would have sent through. Now, my reasoning for this, essentially, I'll start this by saying this kind of sounds like the sort of song that comes on, when I think of it, I think of, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm in the gym and there's unnecessarily energetic music on the loudspeaker. That's where I see this song. At the same time, I quite like being at the gym at 1 in the morning with the unnecessarily upbeat music on the loudspeaker. So it kind of works for me. That said, and you could see it happening on Twitter during the show, and Eurovision fandom, I got to call you out for a second. I'm sorry. Everyone was already all over the pop girly with the upbeat song. And to be honest, maybe it's for the best that this hype has not had time to build, because we know how this ends, and there's already been enough violence this season.
I can't do I'm still at PTSD. Please don't make me do this. I agree with San here. Let me bring it up. For me, Sandra, it was quite atmospheric, and she did really well, and the na-na-nas were not annoying. Out of those that were non-qualifiers, I would have picked that one as well as my third qualifier, probably. But I personally, after tonight's performances, I was okay with the top three. But if I had to pick a fourth one, like a wild card, which is not really a thing, but I'm doing it anyway, I would have been. She was in my initial top three, and for some reason, just swing it really kind of matched my mood, and I kind of flipped those two. So that is basically what I felt. Hi, Jill. I want to post your question. I was actually very disappointed by the performances of today. Yona was my favorite, but missed energy. Actually, I didn't expect Elsie to qualify. I just can't connect with it. Interestingly enough, I've seen a lot of comments on Twitter that just did not connect with it. But I think that's something that kind of goes with what you were saying, Gabe. Sometimes, of course, the ESC crowd, diehard crowd, is not necessarily reflective of what the national Norwegian crowd would go for, and they often do not go necessarily with the song that we all, or like we say, the vast majority want. Kind of still, people are still very angry about this to this day. It wasn't that long ago, but so that makes sense. Did you feel the energy was not quite there today? You didn't see the first week in all, so you may kind of nothing to compare it with.
True, but I think we know we've been watching national finals and we've been watching Eurovision for a long time, and when something really jumps out at you, sometimes you really know, like you hear something thinking, wow, this was great. And it really gets you, it really gets your energy levels up and gets you going. That didn't really happen for me tonight. And it's a shame because there are some good songs in here, but I listen to these and I'm trying to picture a lot of these songs, especially when we come on to Lithuania. I'm trying to picture some of these songs as Eurovision entries and I can't really do it. They're missing something, like the thing that with Kano and Tix, and the reason why that was so surprising for me, at least, was that I could picture the Kano song as a Eurovision entry. I couldn't really picture Fallen Angel as a Eurovision entry. But tonight, Elsie Bay's song, I love her voice. I like the song. Can't picture it as a Eurovision entry. Yona, can't picture it as a Eurovision entry. Obviously the electro swing, and don't need to say anymore. There's just something missing from these performances, and I don't think we have seen anything groundbreaking this evening, which is a shame, but it happens. What can you do?
Yeah, I still enjoy a lot of the studio performances, but I agree with Jelly. I felt a little like some of the songs didn't quite deliver in terms of energy to me. I don't think the winner of MGP is coming from this semi. I would agree with that as well. And before we move on to Lithuania, real quick, thank you first of all. Sean, my friend, is back. Thank you for the super chat. Glad to reconnect, Matt. Hopefully I can catch up with the viewing. Computer was down for a week. Will Sean be in Liverpool with you? So that would be the craziest thing if he decided not to go, but he already said, yeah, of course he'll be there. And this one will be there as well. I'm like,
I'll be there. Yeah.
I'm trying to point at you. You'll be there as well, right?
I said, I can't promise I'll run from the arena straight to the live stream because something tells me it's going to be difficult to get an Airbnb 10 minutes from the arena this year.
Yeah, it's I will be there most likely. I already booked the flight. We don't know what the press situation is going to be like, so that all remains to be seen. But hopefully this will all work itself out. But I have every intent to be there as well. And if it's not with the press, then at least for a week or so, just to do stuff. But more to come on that. One thing we can go fairly quickly over. I didn't have time to, because it just happened as we're going live, getting the results up. And that is for Lithuania's the national final. Gabe, I think you're my spirit animal right now. So I want you to just sum up this show based on your observation, of course. In your opinion, it's not science.
So let me tell you a story, right? So essentially at the moment, I've been looking into, because my family has background in Eastern Europe. I'm like, my mom's side of my family are all Eastern European Jews, right? Mm-hmm. So I've been looking into my family history because there's a lot of laws around governing citizenship for Jewish people who've had been forced to flee Eastern Europe. As of tonight, I am conclusively ruling out ever taking up Lithuanian citizenship, even if I am eligible for it, because what the hell was that?
I was wondering where you're gonna go with this. Okay, got it.
What the hell was that? I mean, why? If you cannot fill 2 full semi-finals of a national final with, with good songs, then just don't. Make it a 6 or 8 or 10 song national final, one show, but make them bloody good. There was, I'm sorry to start on such a negative note, but the quality this evening in Lithuania was so low. I really didn't enjoy the vast majority of the songs, and that is a shame. There were some highlights. My favorite one, once I just get the list up from it, there it is. My favorite one was Let Me Think About Me, which I really enjoyed. And I thought that was good. There were some other songs that I thought were listenable. So Solo by Ruta Mur, that went through tonight. Thought that was all right. There was some surreal things happening. The ones that I remember, You Cannot, Need More Fun, Vacuum, London. There was lots of strange things going on there. But my God, it was... I really didn't enjoy it, I'm afraid. And I just hope that once all the, excess has been filtered out in the semis, we might get a decent final. But God.
Yeah, I haven't listened. Of course, there's still a second semi. Here's the thing. This is the first time for me actually watching the heats of Pabandomisnayo. Is that how you pronounce it? So I was kind of like, well, I'll do it. I heard stories, but I never had the time to watch the heats. So this year I was like, I'm going to do it. And I'm not sure if it was just the right decision. I hear you and I feel you on that. The problem is it is so forgettable. That was like every song, none of them stuck with me. And I was like, I think every time I listen to a song, I think that's the best one so far. This one's the best one so far. But by the time it was over, I had forgotten about it already. So that was my biggest problem. But even though I'm quite surprised by the quality of tonight's show, Lithuania is known for somehow coming up with a song that gets them pretty decent results. So I'm thinking there must be something coming in semi 2 that'll really redeem themselves. Because I don't know what's going to come, but I just don't see a winner in this one. I looked at the list and I didn't remember anything. The one I remember was Gabrielos Vagelis. I think that was my favorite, who qualified actually. I think, yes, coming second with the televoters, 6 points from the juries. The winner of tonight was Ruta Mur, Solo. Do you remember that one?
Vaguely. It was the guy. Oh, actually, no, I do, because I just quickly checked the thumbnail for that bit and immediately went, oh yeah, that guy. So the one good thing about Solo was that I actually quite liked his voice, and he clearly really been inspired by that kind of like British, sort of rock and pop music of sort of the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually enjoyed it. I did enjoy that. That was one of my 2. This was not completely awful ones. So I thought it was really good. And I guess it deserved to win. Not that it had much competition. But yeah, I'm not sure about the cowboy hat though. There was a lot going on. It was a bit weird in my opinion. Oh, and the phone booth and God.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. I hear you on that one. And I'm going to take your word for it, Lab Animations. Heat 2 has better artists. We'll be back next week, and I'm going to hold you to it. So no pressure on that statement. Hopefully you're not going to regret it. No, that's good to know. And again, these are just opinions. The last 2 years, Lithuania, according to my taste, has sent fantastic songs to Eurovision. So I am hopeful that they will blow us away next week. So there's not much to add. We're gonna revisit, of course, more in the final as well. Those were the 2 shows from tonight, but that doesn't mean nothing else has happened over the last week or so. There's plenty more to discuss, and as always, in the chat at ESC United, if you want to talk to us Let me bring up the next thing here. I'm jumping between things. Let's talk about Estonia. Estonia already had the 2 semifinals where 5 songs from each semi qualified. And this time around, we also had a surprising 2 additional qualifiers. And so they brought it up to 12 participants, and the running order is in. Let me bring it up real quick. And Gabe, you have to unmute yourself. When I brought this up, it's one of those weird things for it to work. It mutes you. This is the running order. Did you listen to any of the songs, Gabe, in Estonia?
So I did. I checked out the odds before we came on tonight because I hadn't seen the heats, and I went and listened to the runaway favorite, which is "Bridges" by Alika. I have to say, I'm not surprised. Great song, enjoyed it a lot. Quite dramatic. I like the little gimmick of the self-playing piano. If they do make it to Eurovision, I would really like to see them keep that.
You do like that? I thought it was stupid.
Well, there
Really?
we go. But I mean, it's a gimmick. You remember it's the song with the piano that plays itself,
Yeah.
So I need to listen to the rest of the songs. But my first instinct was that Bridges seemed like a really strong contender to me. Let's see what happens. I need to listen to the rest of them.
Okay, so yeah, I did a top 20 video on this. So on this list, I know my favorite is not going to win. And that is okay, because that is Yannick's House of Glass, because it only made it through the second round of voting in the semis. So that usually spells doom for a song in the finals. But I'm glad it made the cut anyways. It's just melodically my favorite. But I do think out of the songs in the running, if it's not House of Glass, I will be rooting for Venom. Of course, I'll be happy for anybody else. That is my kind of jam. And it would be fun to send something a little bit more hard rock-ish to the contest. And that's what that song is. Bridges certainly has grown on me. I mean, I always liked it. But live, it has gotten really even more appeal. So I certainly have that on my radar as well. And yeah, it is certainly the betting odds favorite. And I'm trying to find that comment here. Bring it up. Oh, that didn't work. There you go. I think the odds don't reflect how divided the Estonian public is between Venom and Bridges. I haven't looked at the odds in Estonia yet. Where is Venom in the betting odds? Are they second?
Second.
Okay. Yeah, so I can see that. The thing is with Estilal in the finals, the jury hardly even matters. Whoever wins, usually the televote, even the first round wins, because even if unless it's one of the situations really where the juries put a song dead last and the televoters put it first, and then the points won't match. But there will be a super final of 3 songs decided by the juries and televoters. So as long as the song comes in the top 3 with the overall, then only televoters will decide. So, and whoever gets the 12 points from the televoters basically always are in the top 3, and then they'll win the super final for the most part anyway. So it'll be a decision by the televoters. That's why I don't even consider the jury's taste as much in Estilao. So I still think that Venom has a better mass appeal. If it were a 50-50 juries and televoters in the super final, then I could see Bridges winning. So I agree with what Antonio Ray said in the chat, and I lost that one already. So I'm just going to read it. It will be a super final between Alika, Ollie, and Sissy. And I can Sissy sounds like you. Sissy, and that I could see absolutely happening. I think if I had to put money down, that is my opinion. As of right now, I know you don't know all of the songs, Gabe, so you cannot comment on it. But I do believe that Venom is the one to beat, even though the betting odds have Bridges up. But again, Bridges would be, with the 50-50 setup, probably the winner. But the way the super final works, only televoters, Venom, it has more televote appeal. Would love to hear people in the chat. Let me know what you're thinking. Who could be a surprise super finalist, or where you disagree? Sunny is saying that bet letters also can reach the super final. Have you seen those, Gabe?
Well, I saw that. I haven't heard their song yet, but I would question the logic of calling your band bedwetters. Like
Yes.
that is seriously probably as bad as track shitters in terms of the worst ever. Eurovision band names if they make it through. What were they thinking? I mean, for real, it's memorable, but not in a good way. Like,
Yes.
bad.
Yeah. And I will say bedwetters remind me a little. I get a little bit of Rasmus vibes from this song. It has like this late 2000s like vibe that, to me, that kind of sound, which I quite like. Kind of like what I always listened to back in the old days. So I do have a soft spot for it. I do think that they have an outside chance to kick out CC, I think. I still think Alina and Ollie are guaranteed super finalists, and the third one will be a little closer. I still think it'll be CC, but bedwetters could potentially be the one squeezing in based on a very high popular, the televote bringing it in. And that would be my guess. But yeah, we still got a couple of weeks for that, and then we'll talk about it in detail. There's a jelly here. They're both great. The super final Estonia is always my top 3, so probably Sissi, Ollie, and Alika. I still think Alika will win. Well, we'll see who's right at the end, won't we? Who else? Okay, so we had a bunch of songs come out. This was a busy week. And both Gabe and I actually have real lives as well and jobs. So we cannot just sit there and listen to the songs all the way. So Gabe, before we even go through and talk about the songs, which countries have you listened to at any of them that were released this week without going into details? Other
than the ones we've discussed, I listened to the Finnish songs, the UMK songs. Mm-hmm. And other than those, the others that came out this week, we had... I'm trying to. There was because you're right, and that tons happened this week. Yes. And we had
Portugal. We had Denmark.
I haven't listened to Portugal. Haven't listened to Denmark. I've heard a couple
of Moldova has
the
clips out.
I've heard a couple of Moldovan clips. I think it was the Aliona Moon clip I heard, which I actually really enjoyed, which is a good sign. The Moldovan national final is always quite something, and I think has replaced Belarus in the sort of pantheon of chaotic Eurovision national finals. Yes. So chat, if you don't know who Sasha Bogdanov is, keep it that way, please. I'm begging you, do not give this man any more publicity.
Who is that?
Oh God, well, so every
year...
Should I
ask? Should I know?
He enters, and his song titles have included "I Just Had Sex with Your Ex."
Well, that was a song from
Love
the 90s.
Me.
No one has sex with your ex. It'll make your life complex. My ex. You don't know that song?
Baby, no, I don't. But Sasha Bogdanov also did one called that. Love Me Like Your Daughter. And this year...
No, he did not do that.
Yes, he did. And this year, I think it's My Little Schoolgirl. No, My Favorite Schoolgirl, I think it's called. So anyway,
he has not been arrested yet, has he?
Well, let me just put it this way. I think there's a hard drive in Moldova that needs checking. But yeah,
I feel like this is such an awkward moment. Now maybe I should move on in the dialogue to something less weird before we get censored.
Yes.
But seriously, that is crazy.
Yeah, and he's a teacher.
Oh God.
This man is around children on a regular basis. Everything is fine.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. The building on fire behind us. Look away. Yeah, that is insanity. Yeah, that is not normal. So no, I'm going to look that up afterwards because now I'm curious. Like somebody must have said something somewhere or somehow, but it just yeah. As somebody says, it just keeps getting worse. So let's move on. So let's talk about the national final that we both at least know of, and then that is Finland. I did a top 7 ranking video. Here's a quick snippet of it. Finland may as well rename their national final from UMK to The Bloodbath, because that's what it is. A fantastic pop song. I can't believe that this is her first single ever. I love everything about it. I mean, everything. The 80s vibe, the Finnish language, the catchiness, the pace, everything. It's very move like Jagger, and honestly though, I would not be sad if Robin ends up winning. Between all these upbeat, fun, and loud entries, here comes Alexandra's masterpiece. It's polarizing, and that is usually a good thing in Eurovision, because, you can't vote against a song. This band gives me such delicious 90s retro feels and haircuts of the early Backstreet Boys days. Am I the only one expecting Will Ferrell to show up any minute now? This is like the love child of the Eurovision. It is a very interesting national final. I said in my videos, I did like the reaction videos, I did the top 7 videos. UMK is here to slay. No, oh, that's a rhyme. I'm gonna copyright that, trademark that one. But no, that is a fantastic lineup. There's not one song I dislike. There's some certainly I love, I'm gravitating towards, but I cannot say there is like a song where I just run out of it. Like any of these songs, if they were in the Lithuanian semi, they will all be my number one. Let's put it that way. So I should hand it over to you first, since I already did a video on that, Gabe. Before you tell me what your favorite is, what do you think about the overall quality?
So I think this is the best national final lineup we've seen so far this year. I think we have a set of really strong songs. I wouldn't be mad if any of them won, to be honest, although I do have a clear favorite.
Okay.
I think I'm a particular fan of, I'll name a few first,
Okay.
which is
no particular order, so go ahead.
No particular order. I like Robin's song, Girls Like You. I like No Business on the Dance Floor, Alexandra, Something to Lose, and I like Cha 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 as my sort of top 4, but I like all 7 of these songs.
Yeah.
My favorite, should I say it now, or do you want me to wait?
No, go ahead.
My favorite is Cha Cha Cha. I love it. It's been stuck in my head for days. Keep listening to it. It's the kind of crazy,
I spit on my camera.
just
go ahead, sorry.
all over the place kind of madness that we need at Eurovision. Like, there is such a big opportunity here for Finland. There is a top 5 finish on, I think, here, because that cha 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 bit it's so catchy. It is so catchy. People will love this. And Finland, I am begging you to send it. I wouldn't be mad if the others won, but please, cha 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 all the way for me.
Yeah. I mostly echo what you were saying. I think there's not one song that I would dislike. Well, if your favorite doesn't win, I would be maybe momentarily disappointed. Like probably in that live stream, like let's say one of my favorites doesn't win. Like Robin is probably out of all the ones I have the lowest, but I would be initially sad. But I know that the next day I'd be like, it's still a great song. And I was struggling because anyone who knows me, I love me a good, appropriate, good 80s retro song. So I still have Benjamin as my favorite because I just can't stop listening to that song. It's my jam. I just love it, love it, love it all day long. And this one I've listened to the most, but Cha 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 is my close number 2. And at the end, I was like going back and forth, but I do know that Benjamin is the one I tend to listen to the most, but Cha 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 would probably the best choice for Finland objectively, even speaking, not just based on my taste, because I do think it just stands out. There's a reason it went to number 1 in Finland immediately. The reaction was so strong, and Finland doesn't have to worry, because some people might make the case Cha 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 is going to flop with the juries, but in the semis, you don't have to worry about that. And if you make it to the finals, you already can make a big splash if you don't win, and it will be a huge commercial success for the country and the singer, of course. So I agree with that one for sure. And at this point, I'm actually going to bring up that comment here in just a moment, if it comes up correctly. Fine here, because I was going to mention the same thing here. Where are you? There you go. The televoting will go for Cha Cha Cha, no doubt about that. We have a 75% televoting, so there's a big chance he's winning. I hope that it'll be a good live on stage. That's what I'm saying. The juries are almost irrelevant in this one, because the televote have such a strong say in this one. I think the only thing that really could stop it is really a shitty performance. Or are you more nervous about that this is not going to work with the masses as it does with the Eurovision crowd, Gabe? Are you on mute? Or can I not just hear you?
Fixed it. Sorry about that.
Aha!
There is
Okay.
one clear indication here, which is that I've got the Spotify Finland daily chart up in front of me here right now. Cha 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 in the last 24 hours got almost twice as many streams as any other song on the list. Like,
Wow.
it is going big in Finland. Now, obviously, we've seen before, like, Bess was doing really well with streams, but not this well. This has massive, massive potential. I think they're going to blow the televote away. And I think they will get over whatever. If the jury penalize and hold them back, they'll be able to get past that. The other thing is that, you know, you look at the other songs in the national final, they're also not close, because the closest rival
is it the Portion Boys? Is that second? Because they're like the second biggest name, I would say. The biggest name, probably.
So the Portion Boys are on the list, but I can't see where. I'll check the name of the song.
That's okay. While you're doing that, I'll bring up a question. I'd be worried that's what I'll go back in there about the Portion Boys. Then Robin, if I were scared for the popularity vote, their streams are pretty close in terms of Cha Cha Cha. So the Portion Boys are became very popular in Finland. I think last year they really had a big breakthrough. So you can make a case, because some people are saying that the Rasmus last year won because of their popularity, not necessarily just based on the merit of the song. We can argue until the cows come home about that one. So, but there is a point to be made. So maybe they could make a similar point here. People are just very nervous because the vast majority, it seems, have a clear favorite here. You think that's what it is? We're all just like prepare for the worst case scenario.
Yeah, I think also what we shouldn't forget is that, you know, Cardia, I'm definitely not going to pronounce it right. I'm going to say Cardia, but I know the A's are different. So sorry to all the Finns in the chat. The only thing I know how to say in Finnish is I am at the train station, and that is it.
It's more than I can say.
No, quite. But basically, you know, we shouldn't neglect the fact that Cardia does have some fairly successful songs themselves in the past, you know, which have got streams numbering into the millions. So we shouldn't neglect that they're going to have some you know, traction as well. Say it. It's Minä olen rautatieasemassa. There you go. That's it. That's the only thing I can say in Finnish. Finns in the chat, please don't correct me if it was wrong. But yeah, so I'm less worried than everyone else.
I feel good. I feel pretty confident about it. Again, yeah, the live performance, it could be make or break it, but I just don't see it happening. Again, I do see a win in the stars. And as much as I love Benjamin, and I personally would probably even pick it over Cha Cha Cha, even though I love them both, I do see a case we made that Cha 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 would just be the better choice for Eurovision, just commercial success. And people, that's one of the things I said in my video as well. You cannot ignore the song, even because it will be polarizing, right? Some people will hate the guts out of that one, but it doesn't matter because you can vote against the song. And so you'd rather have strong opinions about a song both ways than just like you don't want to pull a Germany. And you know, and just like somewhere in between. It's just not the right thing to do. So but yeah, so once again, I think most people are in the chat. Anyone in the chat, be honest, and it's totally fine, because I have to. If your favorite is not Cha Cha Cha, who would you pick? And real quick, Gabe, if Cha 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 gets disqualified tomorrow, who would you be rooting for?
Oh God. No Business on the Dance Floor, Kira.
Okay.
Is my second choice, personally.
Second choice, Kira. Okay. So I see Benjamin. Good taste. Hoidamut, that's Benjamin. My favorite is Kira. Okay. Benjamin. I like my peeps here. So you're just saying that because I said it, didn't you? No, I get it. It's very popular. So it's fun for me that I'm with the majority, because oftentimes I'm not. So when I'm with the masses, I'm like, yeah, let's all just hold hands and sing Kumbaya. So Kuma, I see a few Kumas coming in. Portion Boys. Benjamin's my second Kuma. Okay, so the majority says Benjamin. I see a good amount of Kumas in there. So yeah, that's what we have. I was just curious. And Jona is actually pointing something out real quick, that Robin is the biggest name in Finland, but everyone in Finland is actually hating the song because it is so generic. I think, Gabe, you actually put it a little higher in your ranking, right? You said it's one of the better ones.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I mean, maybe I guess I see the point, but it's a nice song. You know, he's a seasoned performer, so you know that he'll do it well on the night. I think maybe I'm wrong, right? And I am often very wrong. But for me,
no, you did really good. The two of us did really good last year in the predictions. We were the number 1 and 2, so on our team. So I wanted to do a video and then I forgot. But yeah, we were we did way
the
better.
experts.
The others were crazy. I was like Sean, Connor, and Roy in particular. Like, you putting Italy in the bottom 5 and like all these crazy guesses. Azerbaijan coming 2nd and Czech Republic 3rd. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Well, if only, you know, it's Matt, as you know, it's difficult being a genius. It's a big responsibility.
It's a burden sometimes.
So I'm glad this is something that we can share. You know?
I know. It's like, I was surprised, but you did actually pretty good. But I know we cannot always predict the future, but I interrupted your thought. Sorry, go ahead.
My point is, I don't think Robin will win. I think he'll do quite well though. And obviously he'll have his fan base and so on who'll, you know, help propel him along.
Yeah. And I think it's really, he's suffering from the fact that this is such a high quality lineup, because his song is not bad. Again, if he would have taken part in Belgium or in Lithuania right now, he probably would be my first, because it's a really nice, decent song, even though it's not necessarily my genre per se, because it reminds me a little bit of Maroon 5 and move like this, certain like a little not quite as so. It's not my go-to, but I can see where this is a nice song. It's pleasant and it's not bad, but yeah, it can't help it. Didn't roast me like that. Oh, Connor's in the chat. I didn't even see Connor in the chat. Whoopsie, Con. Now you there was a prediction though, not what you liked, Connor. That is the difference. So it was just interesting. We still love y'all. You know, prediction are predictions. It's just when we combined our 5 or 6 prediction, ours looked like almost like we threw darts at a wall, because you know it looks nothing like predictions or what anybody else was predicting. So Gabe and I were closer to reality, for the lack of a better word. Anyways, and that was Finland, and let's see what else we wanted to talk about. Let me bring up my stuff here. I gotta always jump back and forth with. So I know you have not listened to them yet, but I put up my Danish video this morning. I know. Let me put up the clip first, and then we'll talk. I'm just a few seconds into the song, and I can tell you right here, right now, even without knowing if this was from Denmark, I could tell you clearly Dansk Melodi Grand Prix material, which means this may be a contender for the victory. Let me phrase it that way. If you are a big fan of Dansk Melodi Grand Prix sound, traditional sound, then this is your entry. I'm gonna start with something petty here, but I can't help it. It bothers me. That song title, jeez, are you serious? You know that you cannot use that if you go to Eurovision. You gotta blurp it out. But yeah, even the lyrics are quite corny. We are only human beneath the surface. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we are all humans, period. But pleasant does not cut it at Eurovision. You want to have the song that really leaves a mark. And there are many different ways to get that accomplished. But just based on the merit of the song style and quality, I don't think this is it. But I'm telling you one thing, Nicholas. Expect a major lawsuit coming from me your way if this performance won't have pyros. This needs to have pyros. This is interesting. So it has that Amanda Chafon song. If it was more upbeat and cheerful and uplifting, I find a certain comfort in that song. It's in Danish also, so sign me up for that. So yeah, so I know, Gabe, I'm not sure if you want to turn off your headset or anything? Because there will be some spoiler alerts now in here. You good
It's
with
fine.
that?
It's fine. Hit me with them. Hit me with them.
Okay. So here's the thing, and I said it also. Then this is not by ranking, so that was like the alphabetical order. Denmark is being Denmark again this year. So if there is, I will say though, I do think it's a slight improvement from last year, because I do think there are some songs that I do enjoy and I think would be decent choices for Eurovision, but I do think that they could do better in style, genre, and diversity. There are a lot of, it's like, call it mini Germany, like very folk, and I'm putting on Germany right now, but they deserve it because they came second last or last like 7 times in a row almost. So yeah, except 2018, different story. But anyways, the point is still radio friendly, and they just focus on that too much sometimes, and then they just become kind of meh. And there's a reason why Denmark, it has not been really delivering at Eurovision as of late. And that is interesting because there are some songs I actually adore, but I understood why they're flopped. So for it's just really sad. One thing I want to actually bring up here real quick. Okay, let me go back to chat here. I need 2 screens here, but then I'm going to be in here twice. Or I need like a person who handles the chat going forward, but that's difficult to do. Somebody said, Soren's song sounds very inspired by our 1950 entry, Skibet Skal. I shouldn't have started. The song that you listed there, a classic in Denmark. It's funny because when I ranked the songs, I said, and I swear, you can watch it, the evidence is out there, it reminds me of a chanson from the old days brought into in the year 2023 with some more slightly updated sounds, because they have like a music box and they have like some snapping, and it's just very interesting the way it was done. But it reminded me of like a chanson, like the old school style. So it's very interesting that there is some plagiarism accusations out there, although I don't know if that will stand, like, oh, he copied a 1950 song. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult case to make. So knowing what you know now, Gabe, are your expectations low, or how did you feel? Like, were you as critical about Denmark as well? Like, or were you kind of more like positive about their music?
In the gentlest way possible, because it's because it's Danish MGP. My expectations are always quite low.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't really think that changes this year for me. I had heard a snippet, I realize now, of the AR song, and it sounded, and it was quite enjoyable. But I think you've identified the problem well, which is that Denmark is focusing too much on being radio friendly, and what you lose is the kind of, I would call it the sort of the show tune factor, because in Eurovision, you kind of need a show tune, which is also a pop song, or a show tune, which is also, like a piece of music that can stand on its own and go on the radio or whatever. And none of these really have that.
No.
And that is a recipe to come 12th in the semi-final, I'm afraid. So that's what I'm worried about here. We'll see if anyone jumps out. Sometimes the live performances change it. But at the moment, I'm always pessimistic. I need to listen to the full songs, but I'm always pessimistic with Denmark, unfortunately.
Yeah, they have a hard rock song in there, which I kind of appreciate, because that would be a different route for them to go. So I'm almost like want to root for that, just for going for something different. And now I'm going to pick on Denmark again and defend Germany. Germany sucks at Eurovision as of late, right? Again, put 2018 aside. At least I'll give them one thing. They're trying to figure out, should we go internal? Should we do this kind of national final? What can we do? They're switching it up, trying to figure out what the right places for them. They may or may not get there this year, but at least I'll give them that. We're trying something different every year to see until it works. Denmark doesn't learn its lesson at this point. It seems like they do the exact same national final, do the same amount of songs, the same style, the same genre, and they're like, we'll be fine. And that bothers me more than anything. Even more almost what Germany. Germany sucks at Eurovision, no doubt about it, but there's an effort there. I feel like at Denmark, it's almost like they just don't care anymore. And we could eat our own words and they're going to come in the top 10 randomly. But it's still, even then, it's more like a broken clock than a actual great song. And there were some other comments I've seen here, and forgive me, I would love to bring it up, but it went past my screen. But basically, somebody's saying that Riley seems to be the contender to win with almost 11 million TikTok followers. Have we seen evidence, Gabe, in other national finals, if you recall? So I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but if like this Gen Z TikTok community has really helped an artist to win a national final or do well at Eurovision?
Not that I recall. The only thing we could really say is that Sam Ryder, his televote score was very good, but it was much less than his jury score.
Yes.
He was massive on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Which would suggest to me that there's not a big correlation. Somebody in the chat points out City Zany. That is a good point.
City Zany, is that the Latvian disaster from last year?
Disaster? Excuse you.
The televoters agree with me. It was my least favorite last year. It was like my dead last.
Oh, well, I guess so. You're more of a meat fan than a veggies and pussy fan, I guess. But anyway,
can't believe you just said that. Go ahead.
The point is that there's not much indication that TikTok is correlated to success in Eurovision. At least not yet. In a few years down the line, maybe there will be. But I don't think the typical audience, the voting audiences overlap enough.
Yeah. One thing I want to point out by Soben, Queen of Kings is having TikTok popularity boost right now. And it will be a test to see because right now, based on the first bit, like Ulrike is the one to beat in Norway right now, based on reaction, odds, or whatever. Personal bias comes in. I also think Queen of Kings has an absolute great chance of winning MGP. You've listened to that song as well, right? Queen of the Kings, da 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 da.
Okay, yeah.
No. Hey, well, it doesn't go to hey, but I just added that because
it should do.
It should do. Now, please listen to me. Add a hey at the end. So yeah. So, anyways, what was I saying before that? I got this one.
Honestly, I can't quite remember.
I don't either. Was probably a lie. Alessandra, Queen Alessandra. Yeah. So anyway, the point is TikTok. We were talking about TikTok and Sam Ryder. That's what it was. And that one could, we'll see if TikTok, because I don't know if those folks actually will go and watch and vote in the national final. But we shall see. So that is that. We have, of course, I've not listened to Moldova anything yet, and I've not listened to anything Portugal yet. And you, Gabe, have only listened to one song from Moldova, you said earlier, right?
Yeah. I've heard the snippet for the Aliola Moon song, which I enjoyed. That's basically all I can share at this point.
Yeah. Gabe's taking all Matt's monetization with all his controversy. Stop it, Gabe. Stop it.
Hey,
Jeez,
I didn't have a rant today. I've been so good and calm and nice, and I haven't sworn at all.
Yeah, I don't care what you say about the topics. Apparently, YouTube is really cracking down on swearing. So I'm just always like, that's why even that stupid song, no, I'm offensive. That song from Denmark called "Beautiful Bull Blank." I had to blurp it out. I'm like, you can't even use that Eurovision anyway. If you call your beautiful bull S word, you can't even use that Eurovision. So I'm like, I found that title to be super tacky. Because it's just like, I'm being edgy, I'm being daring. I'm like, no, it's just
yeah. And then you're gonna get to Eurovision, you're gonna have to say like,
beautiful bull crap.
No, they probably won't allow that either.
You can't use that crap.
I don't know. Can somebody in chat tell us? Hopefully, we haven't been demonetized for that. Are you allowed to say crap at Eurovision?
Yeah, I know you can say. You can say the S word, crap. You can say on YouTube. Okay. I'm trying to think what other word you could use. Beautiful. Well, then you just cannot say bull. You have to say beautiful disaster. I don't know.
No,
well, that's a song from Kelly Clarkson. Never mind.
Yes, it is. Beautiful.
Anyways, she's not. I don't think it's going to win.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Yeah, they're never going to have to. They're never going to have this conversation. Again, so we don't really need to worry about it.
and eating my own words here, especially since Belgium, I'm just like extra careful. Extra. So those are the songs that are speaking of Belgium, just real quick, there was all this drama about Belgium. How familiar are you with that situation, Gabe? That with Tom Dice?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Tom Dice took exception to some of the comments being made by the juries during the Belgian national final. I seem to remember Alexander Rybak's comments were singled out in particular. Obviously, Tom was participating as one half of the Starlings, I believe it was. From my point of view, I think he needs to, generally, I'll sometimes say negative things about shows, about the overall quality of shows, but I will try not to single people out and say, oh, they were terrible, they were bad, whatever else. On the same token, with juries like that, they are jurors, they are judges, right? They're going to speak their mind. And I think, number one, as somebody points out in chat, I think it's being read into a little bit too much. But number two, I think in that situation, it has to just be water off a duck's back. You have to just not let it get to you, really, because the level of scrutiny in that kind of environment is so much lower than a Eurovision anyway. If you're trying to go to Eurovision, somebody's going to say your song sucks.
Yes. And
while, we do our best to be positive about the artists at Eurovision because that's what they deserve, exactly as what Blue Zone ESC just said in chat, although perhaps that's a little harsher than I would put it, but essentially that's how I feel. They're going to say nice things. They're going to say not so nice things. They're going to criticize. They're going to praise. And that's part of why they're there. So ultimately, I think it's a little, maybe blown out of proportion a little bit, but I think I still don't agree with Tom Dice. Yeah,
I am with you. I don't agree. I know where he was coming from. Maybe he was probably a little offended by these comments, and which is fine. And I don't even have an issue with him voicing his displeasure about the comments. The way he phrased it afterwards, it was sounding like we deserve to win. Like our song, they shouldn't have put us as low, the jurors and all that stuff. Do you think the song that came last, or should then say the other songs should have been lower? Yeah, it's a very subjective. It felt a little judgy to me when you say we deserve to win, and the televoters loved us so much. Yeah, they loved you because you're the most well known. You can make a case that it was not the best song. It was really just because they already have a major fan base, and if you only rely on that fan base to survive, then that's not that fair. And I understand it stings. It stings, not stinks. Stings, because they were 1 point short. Right? It was so darn close. I didn't get an opportunity to talk to you about then the Belgian results. How do you feel about the very surprising winner, Gustav?
That national final, I mean, it was pure violence committed against Eurofans that night. I think it felt like every Eurofan wanted Shireen to win, as did I. And I think I let myself be tricked into thinking that because she completely had us all by the throat, that she would just sail through and win. Obviously, that's not the case. Yeah. I was very surprised that Gustav won. And I think the Belgium as a nation has much to answer for because there were better songs than the national final. I mean, like I say, Ça m'ennuie pas. I loved that song. Did I just butcher that? Probably. Don't speak French. But it just shows, we've seen this before. The Belgian public do not pick good songs. The last time we let the Belgian public decide, they picked Mother, which has to go down as one of the oddest ballads in Eurovision history. So I would suggest Belgium, go internal, please, and don't do that to us again. The only silver lining is that Shireen is a massive Euro fan, and she's been tweeting about national finals and stuff ever since, which I love. We should get her on here. She'd probably do it. And I'd love to analyze a heat of MGP with Shireen. So Shireen, if you're watching this, I'm not in charge of these things, but please. Anyway,
That would be cool. Yeah. So, yes, I agree with you because I thought Stream was my favorite as well. Clearly, I didn't think she was going to win, right, going into the national final, because the juries will just burn and crash that one, and then she comes a close second in the juries. And I'm like, oh my god, hopes, hope, and and then the televote came in. So yeah, the biggest surprise. I figured that the Starlings would win the televote. I'm still surprised Gustav coming second in the televote. And I think I'm worried about Belgium only because, yes, Gustav won fair and square, and he seems like a super nice guy, and he's so happy, and I will root for everybody, right? But I'm so going to have nothing but love and respect for him. I'm just worried because when you have a song that comes third in the juries, distant second in the televote, and still win overall, when there's a field of 7 songs, we're talking about 26 songs where, like, the Netherlands came third and second as well, but we're talking about 26 songs, not 7 songs. That makes me nervous and also makes me question the way the voting of the juries was done, because they had to give like 4 to 12, and then the point distribution was not quite as the same as the televoters were. And then I think that messed it up a little as well. So, yeah, we shall see. There was an F in 2016 when they picked What's the Pressure? Who picked that one? I don't know. Was it something that you said earlier about the national finals? You're on mute again.
I was talking about when they picked Mother, and that was obviously bad. But yeah,
Okay.
Obviously Laura Tesoro was much, much better. The thing is, if you remember, that actually had a massive glow up though from the national final to the actual shows. Like in the national finals, people didn't really like it that much, from what I remember. Obviously, when it actually got there, they were so slick, and like the whole thing was just wonderfully
Still flopped in the
staged.
televote, but the juries liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, at the same time, no offense to Gustav, I don't think that's going to happen this time. I just don't think it's quite in sync with what works in Eurovision now. It's not the kind of thing that does well in Eurovision. Which isn't a reflection on him. It's just a reflection on the genre of the song.
Yeah, I would agree. We don't know the competition yet. So who knows, right? So there is still that caveat. And the problem is also because we don't have... I could see the juries actually giving him at least a head start, but we don't have juries in the semis anymore. He 100% needs to rely on the televote, and that makes me nervous. So that's what it is. But anyway, so yeah, we just wanted to address that. And then just real quick, for next week, we have... there's another Malta quarterfinal, but I'm not even paying attention to them until they're at least down to the semis. It's just too much. They have like 59 songs, so I don't know. We're going to get the artist announced for Germany. I don't know if you're gonna get...
Yes! Germany! I can't wait for Germany.
I don't know if the songs will be released. That has not been... I'm not sure. We have the auditions next Saturday in Moldova, and the third heat in Norway. The songs will be released on Monday. Pavandom is now. You will have the second heat, and then Iceland songs will be released next Saturday as well. And I am always rooting for Iceland because it's Iceland. So that's probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most. What are you looking forward to?
So I'm looking forward to the chaos that will be the Moldovan auditions next Saturday afternoon. With any luck, I'm hoping I might be around. All that day to watch that. And then I'm going to probably be watching MGP in the evening. That said, I'll squeeze in the Lithuania songs as well. I think Song Verkepnen, I'm going to leave for that evening so I can keep up with the stuff that's going on live and then listen to it either after or the next day.
That's fine too, yeah. But yeah, you will be definitely within the next day or two, you'll catch up.
Yeah, but next Saturday is just going to be an extremely Eurovision day.
We can call the first true Super Saturday next week, right? That's our first Super Saturday of the season, because it's going to be. So Lorene confirms, by the way, in the chat, German songs will be released as well on Friday. Yes. So, do you? I mean, I guess I know your answer should be I don't know. But I'm going to ask you anyway. Germany, your vibe. You think they really, after all the criticism they've received, they did something, or you going into...
I mean...
Where are you landing right now?
Something broke in Germany at some point in the mid to late 2010s.
Yeah.
And then they sort of, almost by accident, they found Ben Dolic, and Violent Thing was loads of fun. That would have done well. But I think we're now on for probably a hat trick of Nothing Burger. Last year was Nothing Burger. The year before that was Nothing Burger.
The year before
2019,
was- yeah.
2019 was
Nothing
Nothing Burger.
Then
2018 was good.
yay, and then 2017 was a nothing burger. 2016 was a nothing burger. 2015 was a nothing burger. Again, since 2015, in the bottom two every single time, with the exception of 2018. I mean, you cannot make this up.
That said, it is of their own. It is their own fault because it's not always been bad in the national finals. Lily Among Clouds was robbed in 2019. Robbed.
Well, you're not on Ailey Rhines, or what was her name? Abby? What's her name?
I know the one you mean. The one who just tweeted a lot after that.
Yes.
And everyone just knows her for tweeting
Ryan.
a lot.
I think Ali Ryan was.
Ali Ryan. That's it.
Yes.
That's it. But Lily Among Clouds, surprise, would have come top 10 in Eurovision. It was great. And the voting public chose that.
Because they pushed that song so hard. Sisters was added as a random song last minute. They put it last. They put all these very complimentary stuff in there to get people. And I love my German folks, right? I love Germany. I'm German. One thing that drives me crazy, though, in Germany, I said it last week, and I love repeating it because until they learn it, I will scream it from the mountaintops. Germany are such rule followers, and they listen to it. And when the juries or the producers say, you should vote for this, they usually do. And that needs to stop, the influencing the vote. And I can bring receipts. I went for last week why I say that. So I hope they just go with what they think is the best song. It's also an issue in Germany because those who watch the national final tend to be basically the same age as people of the Fox News here in the United States, very, very old. So it's not very representative of, the overall taste. Laureen says also, and I should bring up, I listened to rumors and the rumored acts, and we have a good song submissions, but NDR can't select the right song. That is the problem. That comes back to Electric Callboys, what they're called now, right? Yeah. From last year. Mm-hmm. Where did you stand on that one? I think we talked about it last year. I don't remember.
I mean, to be honest, I've forgotten the song. But I remember hearing it and being like, this is way more interesting than
anything in the national final.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing I can't stop thinking about with Germany last year, it was very slow, quite pedestrian, but also, and this is a great way to ruin that song for yourself. Mm-hmm. If you go back and listen to Malik Harris's song from last year, it gets to the chorus, starts singing, "What did you learn at school today?" It fits perfectly. It fits perfectly. I saw someone tweet about it last year. Ever since, haven't been able to separate it in my head.
Yeah. Then we have just a few more minutes before we call it a day. Any questions you may have in the chat to us, make sure at ESC, and it can be anything about tonight's show, what we discussed, or something completely random. We're happy to answer that. And there's already the first question coming up. From Blue Zone. Did you hear that Sam Ryder got nominated for the best new artist in the Brits? In the Brits? What is the Brits? In the British people? First UK Eurovision act to be nominated since Cliff Richard.
So the Brits is a UK awards show. For those of you who don't know, it is equivalent. It's like the UK equivalent to the Grammys. It's obviously not as high profile as the Grammys, but I would say, I wouldn't call it a massive deal in Britain. It's like a medium high deal.
It's like a Golden Globe instead of an Oscar kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. I'm not really good with that.
To be honest, the music awards in Britain don't seem to be as big a deal as they were when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. But they're still covered well. It is a big deal for Sam Ryder to be nominated for one of these, though. I think because essentially these just like with the Oscars and any other awards show, it's extremely institutional because there is an institution of the music industry or the film industry in any given country, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the international industry as well, and these things interact with each other. Being recognized by that industry lends credibility to Sam, obviously, and it lends credibility to Eurovision as something that serious new artists in the UK can do to get discovered and to make big progress in their careers.
Yeah.
And that is a big step forward because it is not something that would have previously happened. Especially if you look at our previous entries, they've immediately faded back into obscurity. I'm thinking of people like Michael Rice, who just vanished. Or looking further back, Molly.
She's doing music and theater though, right? Back again, that's what she did before.
Yes, but she faded into obscurity, as many of these others do. So my point is that it is good for Eurovision. It's good for British music in Eurovision. It's good for the chances of Britain in the future. I just hope we try hard this year.
Yes, I'm going to ask you. I wasn't going to ask you that, but I'm going to ask some questions. Have we heard someone who could be a winner? Gabe, I know you haven't listened to all of them, neither have I. Like certain national finals, you're still behind. Based on what you've heard, do you think you could have listened already to the potential Eurovision winner, or is that not the case?
I think. Can I choose like a halfway answer here?
You can choose whatever answer you want.
I think Noah Kirel, as an artist, has the credentials and the star power to win Eurovision. But we need to. But it depends what she comes up with that song. But like, if you listen to some of her other stuff, I don't know if any of you have Thought About That by Noah Kirel. That is a banger.
That's
so
what they're saying, though, right?
I think potentially, obviously it's there is a marketing element to it, but I really do think that Noah Kirel has a lot of potential. I think Cha 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 has potential. Although that said, I think at the moment, though, it's sort of unrelated. I think Israel winning would pose more problems for Eurovision than it did
in 2019 or 18. Yeah.
I think the situation has changed since then. And I'm not sure it's a situation that Eurovision wants to find themselves in. So maybe it would be the best thing for the contest if Noah Kirel's song was underwhelming. But I think I should leave the politics at that and hand it over to you.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, because even though we like not always talk politics, we live in the real world, and sometimes that does impact it. So I'm not shying away from it. I'm just not seeking it out either. Let's click on and if I missed your question, you can feel free to post it again. I just wasn't here when you talked about it, but PIN wasn't
Lithuania.
Oh, I think we've been blessed with some seriously amazing NS this year, and now we get disappointed when we get a normal one. To me, I feel this national final season has been very polarizing. I've seen really good national finals with quite a few. Norway's doing really well. Finland is doing really well. And then there are others that especially disappointing. I thought Albania was very disappointing this year to me. Lithuania has been very disappointing to me. So I haven't seen as many good, solid ones. It just seems like really good or just yeah. That's as my observation as of right now. How do you feel?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that if just looking at the results, and I mean the songs that have emerged as favourites from the national finals and some of the entries we've got so far, I'm generally pretty happy at the moment. I don't think it's an amazing year. I don't think it's a bad year. I don't think this Lithuanian show today was great. But there was a song, but even in that, there was a song I really liked. I think so. Yes, we do have some really strong national finals. I think UMK is the perfect example of that. And that will, of course, distort perceptions, but I don't think it's quite to the degree that comment said. I think overall, it's a pretty good year. It's not an amazing year. It's not a bad year. It's just fine for me at the moment.
And that can all change, go in either direction, of course. Next question, Gabe, since you're your neighbor, what do you think about the Ireland selection? We haven't really talked about that today. Could we qualify this year? What are your thoughts? I think you've listened to them, right?
Yes, I have listened to Ireland, the songs in Ireland Eurosong, and I think we can all agree that this is an improvement. It's a step in the right direction.
Yes.
I think the way they've done it is better. For me,
more steps still, but it's in the right direction.
Yeah, it's moving in the right direction, and I think building the credibility of the show and building the credibility of the delegation is going to be quite a big deal for the next couple of years. Ireland is kind of in a similar rut to where the UK was until this year. But as we
Hopefully.
can see, when you get it really right, things can really take off. And we haven't really seen that to the degree I'd like from Ireland recently. They'll be buoyed by their junior Eurovision performance, which was really good.
Yes.
And deserved as well, because that was a fantastic song.
Yes.
For me, I do like the Connolly song, Midnight Summer Night.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, at the moment, that would be my favorite to win. I just really do not want Public Image Limited to win, because the singer had some quite disparaging things to say about Eurovision, I believe. And quite frankly, if that's what you're going to say about Eurovision, then we don't want you. You can go spread your poison somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's definitely being critical, but it was very toxic, the things that he said, and that's what I didn't like. I don't think it's going to win. I know he is the biggest name. According to the betting odds, now it's been a few days since I've checked, so that may have changed, but Wild Youth, We Are One, I think, are the favorites to win, because I think, has that changed?
So Connolly is the favorite at the moment.
Oh, really?
Wild Youth is number 2.
Okay, cool. Yes. So Connolly, I think my personal favorite was Edgy, actually Too Good for Love, but Too Good for Your Love. But I don't think this is again a style that's very difficult to pull off live. And with the recent track history in Ireland, it may not be the right choice. So I'm okay to sacrifice my favorite and probably send, if done right, Connolly Midnight Summer Night out there, because I do think it has the most unique sound to it. It would stand out the most, and it has, to me, the potential to have televote and jury appeal if done right. That's why there's a caveat, the potential, because especially one thing we know about Ireland, they've been kind of meh with staging, especially with the late show. That makes me super nervous, but that's a different story. So I would agree with you, especially in hindsight. I did a top 6 ranking video, and initially I put it actually only in 3rd place, but the more I listen to it and the more I marinate over it, I do think that it may be the way to go. Let me see if there are any other questions. Are you listening to any of the Benidorm songs that seem to lack staying power? So I did a reaction video for every single song in Benidorm. Feel free to check them out on this channel. And I also did a ranking video. My top, what were the numbers again of the songs? 16? Whatever, the top whatever Benidorm was. I ranked them from first to last according to my taste. I haven't talked to you yet about it, Gabe, so I'm going to let you take the floor again. Have you listened to Benidorm at all? What stood out to you?
I'm gonna be real with you all. I haven't. I will, but I haven't yet. Spanish Euro fans, please don't come for me. I haven't listened to your songs yet. I'm gonna listen to them. It's gonna be a big week for me. I have a lot of things to get through, and that's one of them.
Antonio, I've listened to them, and I think the Spanish fans will be pleased by my statement, because I wouldn't say I disagree with you. I thought it's a fantastic lineup. Once again, I've had so many favorites on this one, which made it very, very difficult for me to rank them. I've had that video out there for a little while, so I'm just going to spoil it here right now, but feel free to watch my comments on that stuff. I think my number 1 was the band that Megara Arcadia. It's probably the hardest sound in there. It's like that hard rock sound, pop sound that they have. I love that song. It is really, really good, and I cannot get enough of it. And I would love also for Alice Wonder, if she were to win. It is such a beautiful and haunting melody, and it would be such a risk for them, because it's not a part. It's like would be the polar opposite of Chanel, right? But I would love that. I would love for Spain, and we love the hip shaking, hair flipping songs from Spain. Absolutely, I'm not against that, but I think it would be a precious song, and I really would love to see that one to go as well. And so I would love to hear from you in the chat as well. Do you have a favorite in Spain? I know there are lots of different opinions, because there's so many songs and so many popular songs, so that I can see what people are saying. Alice Wonder's special song, Alpan, is saying, I do agree as well. It would be a very slow song, and it could be a risky choice, because maybe people get really bored by it. I cannot wait for you to come back, Gabe, actually, and after you listen to the songs, because, I always value your opinion. Even if I don't agree all the time, which is normal with anybody, I at least always know your thought process and where you're coming from, and that makes it really, really fun. And I prefer Agony and Jose Otero. It's funny, Sonny. So Agony and Jose to me are my number 2 and 4. So I put number 4 Agony. I call him Agony. It's like it's Agony, I think is how I pronounce it. And I put third. I initially put Alice Wonder. Then in second, I put Jose. And then in first, I put Arcadia. So those are the 4 songs that I put at the top. And there are other songs that I really, really like. But those are the ones that I think. Now, the thing with Agony is it is basically the Eurovision club banger, right? And it would be very, very popular with the Eurovision crowd. But I do want Spain to send something a little bit different than, and a harder sound would be fun. A beautiful, like, ballad that it would be just so amazing. Oh, people saying she's bad live, Alice Wonder. I heard different opinions on that one. We'll see about that. So I'll wait for the national finals, the semis. They're coming up soon, and then we'll talk about it. Somebody said in the chat, Croatia. Gabe, have you listened to Croatia? Yes, no? If you
No. Dora is not until the 11th of February. So I gotta, we got to address these things in the order that they come. Croatia is, I'm sorry, it's not at the top of my list right now. we got Benidorm Fest. There's MGP songs to listen to for next week. We got Lithuania next week. There's a Maltese quarterfinal, if I can face that. I'm surprised they have enough artists for a quarterfinal.
I know.
Obviously, we're going to have Iceland songs soon. We're going to have the German national final. We have ESCZ on the 30th. There is so much going on. As a rolling thing, basis for this season, if it's more than a week in front, I'm probably not listened to it yet.
Yeah. I tried to stay ahead.
Tons.
I tried to say, because with my videos and all that stuff, I did do a Croatian video. So you have that. I think that there are a few songs that really stood out to me. And for some reason, I'm blanking on them right now. I'm completely blanking on which one I like the most. But there were some, like the two. Oh, there was that one song I want for you to you listen to soon, Gabe. That is so beautiful, and I forgot the name of it. But I remember my number one was something that I think, guys and gals in the chat, who is currently a fan favorite? I agree with the favorite in Croatia. I just forgot the name right now. Damir Ketso is back. You know that, right? From
yes, I did know that.
Yeah. So, was it Nivara that was currently the big favorite? Nivara, yeah, Nivara. That's the one. Then is that the song with the harmonies, right? With the really pretty harmonies. Harmonia Dissonance. That's the one I like. Yes, Harmonia Dissonance. Thank you. That's my favorite in there. But
I just wanted to mention, by the way, speaking of Dora, I'm looking at our calendar here, and have you seen the 11th of February is going to be stressful for us all. On that night, we have the second semi in Lithuania, the second heat in Mello in Sweden. Then we have the finals for Denmark, Croatia, Latvia, Italy, Malta, Estonia, and Romania, all in one day. I'm stressed thinking about
good.
that.
I have 3 screens.
You.
I do have 3 screens, but even that seems a big task. Let's see how we're going to do that. And Damir Ketsa was definitely my second favorite. The only so one of those two has to win, in my opinion. The thing with Damir Ketsa song, it's a great pop song, but he is such an amazing vocalist, and the studio version does not feature that as much. But I have a feeling, watching it on the Dora stage, that this will become even better. So he's still on my radar. But on paper right now, Harmonia Dissonance or Damir Ketsa should win Dora if it were up to me. Let me see if any other. We got already over time that I said. But according to TV listings, allocation draw is 30 minutes rather than 45. How could they shorten it, as it's pretty tight run ship already? So have you ever watched the allocation draw live, Gabe?
Yes, but it's not very. To be honest, it's not very interesting. You don't know any of the songs. It doesn't really tell you very much. And the voting block stuff isn't that interesting either because of the way the pots work. So you don't learn very much. I guess they'll just talk faster. I don't know. Look, it might be that it overruns, these things tend to, or it might be that they just do the draw very quickly, or they draw, multiple at once, that kind of thing.
Yeah. There could be this thing where, usually often they have like either a ball or a piece of paper and then an envelope. They have to open it and that thing, and then unwrap it and all that. You can be quicker now. You can either do it electronically or you can just pull something. Germany's already. I know I picked them. Denmark, first half of semi one. It can be a little quicker because that always like, oh, who do you think is next? Let's find out together. I'm like, no, just do it. And I think that's what they need to do.
The other thing that might speed it up is presenters who are speaking their first language, because you often get these draws where they're done in English by hosts who are not used to presenting things in English.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, their English is always very, very good, but it's a specific talent to present for TV in a specific language. Yes. So I suspect that the BBC will be able to do it faster on the basis that all the presenters will be able to speak English.
Yeah. And somebody mentioned in the chat as well, because often the actual drawing portion is only a small part of this 30 to 40. There's a lot of talking, handing over the responsibilities from Italy to the UK, that kind of thing, So there's always this chatter and then so they could cut down on that as well at the same time. I don't know if there's going to be additional time needed, because now it's like a Ukraine. That's like UK and Ukraine mixed together. The Ukraine, because it's like a collaboration almost to a certain extent, that they're going to spend some time on celebrating that as well. We don't know. It's going to be a different one as well. So, but putting 2022 aside, as much as UK kind of sucked at Eurovision in terms of song quality, I always knew if they were to win, they would do a kick-ass job hosting. So one thing I knew once the UK was announced, I'm like, this is going to be amazing. I remember them doing like that 60-year celebration thing, and I'm like, they're so good at this kind of stuff. They're just so.
What I will say is, apparently SVT saved the day though on a lot of things on that event.
Oh, really? I didn't pay close attention.
What was it? Behind the scenes, apparently there was some drama. I don't know exactly what happened, but SVT had to pick up, because they were co-producers. They had to pick up a lot of the slack. That said, I think the BBC has actually really got its act together on this. So far, I've been impressed with the way things have moved along in a very calm, organized manner. And things like the hotels, for example, all the fact that all the big hotels in Liverpool, they're all part of this sort of local kind of board, essentially, like the equivalent of a chamber of commerce, but for hotels. They all immediately agreed to not list the rooms until a later date, and then they'd coordinate when they're listed to avoid immediate gouging. The reason why the prices went up so much so quickly was firstly for the few hotels, because for the few hotels that were still listing, there was tons of demand. And secondly, because they first need to, they'd taken loads of stuff off the market so they could allocate the things that the EBU needs. Then after that, they can relist everything and there will be hotel rooms. So I think we have this pretty much in hand. As a country, we're pretty good at these things. Yeah. So I'm not too worried. I think
I'm not too worried either. And I was a little worried about the prices because, gouging, as you mentioned, it's ridiculous right now. I know you're staying with a friend, but I need to get a hotel. And I was like, I'm not going to book anything right now because there are two things that are very important. Number one, Gabe just said, there will be more hotels coming up because they're being on hold. And number two, demand will drop once people don't get tickets.
Yeah. The other thing is, stuff comes up at the last minute. And this is what I'll say to any of you who are planning to go. In Kiev in 2017, I got my accommodation 2 weeks before. In Lisbon, I got it 2 weeks before. And last year in Turin, I got it 3 or 4 weeks before. Stuff will be available late. Stuff gets cancelled. Stuff gets listed very late, long after the tickets have been put on sale, things like this. Stuff will come up. So don't panic. Be patient. Do not get ripped off. Better to wait until very late than pay massively over the odds for something that isn't worth it.
Exactly. You're 100% right. Then one question to you, I have to ask you. I know you clearly were very successful, the Brits at Eurovision last year. You did winning the jury vote, and Junior, you won the televote this year, right? So you still haven't won yet. But I've always said I was worried because I want the UK to do well, but I'm always worried, was it a fluke? Was it just a lucky thing? So my question to you is, Gabe, I know you don't know either, right? But based on your hunch, your feeling, do you feel like the UK has something. You feel more confident now. Where are you right now?
I am actually feeling pretty good because the attitude in the UK to Eurovision, I don't think you could understate how much it's changed in the last 9 months.
I can understand a little bit because I don't live there like you do. Yeah.
And so essentially there was the kind of, once we got past the, oh wow, we did well, what kind of thing, the first thing that happened, interestingly, was that everyone immediately was like, we're quite happy that Ukraine won, actually. That was the right thing. And of course, the UK gave 12 points in the televote to Ukraine, as most of Europe did.
Yeah. Wasn't just UK, yeah.
But the second thing that happened after that is people embraced it immediately. I mean, the whole host city selection process was big news across the country. It was a really, really big deal. You know, everybody wanted it. Every city wanted Eurovision, and people were getting really enthusiastic about it. The second thing, obviously, we've been seeing like Liverpool, the hotel rooms and so on that were available have all been selling out. There's a massive buzz. I think in the UK in general, people are really excited about the fact it's here. I think that's going to be matched by the fact that the added attention to it will mean bigger artists and more diverse ranges of artists will be interested. Now, that doesn't mean we have to pick someone very notable, but it means that we'll probably have more options.
Adele.
No Adele. I think personally,
1 year.
You know, I think what we're looking at is potentially another really good result. And I think it's important that we do that, because if we get another top 10, top 5 result this year, I think this could be a trend that we see replicated more into the long term. And crucially, the reason why this is important this week, because I have very good news for you about Newcastle's future prospects of hosting the Eurovision Song Contest, Matt.
Okay.
This week, the government approved £20 million of funding to finish the new Newcastle Gateshead Keys Arena, which is an arena and convention centre in Newcastle, which will hold something like 14,000 people with a big convention centre attached where you could put all the press and all the everything else, and a hotel around the back where you could put the artists. So it means in a few years, the UK can win and you can all come to Newcastle. Won't that be excellent?
That would be excellent. One question, I'm not sure if you have an answer, but do you know any updates on the tickets when they release?
I imagine it'll be February. Expect mid to late February, possibly the start of March.
Yeah, they're a little behind from what we had in previous. I mean, let's put Italy aside because Italy is its own little animal, right? But yeah, they're a little behind, but I'd rather them get it right than mess it up big time. So we shall see, but it's frustrating because you cannot plan. I remember the first time I went to Eurovision was in 2011, and those tickets were like in November or something like that, right? So I could plan. It was really cool going to Germany. So I understand it's frustrating. Trust me, I'm equally frustrated because I don't know if I get press or not. You know, we don't know what's in store for us. So but I'm preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. That's usually my motto. I know.
Everything is okay.
Hey, everything is awesome. So that's it for now. I did way longer. I said I'm going to do like an hour to 75 minutes. We went over, but it was such a good conversation. Thank you, Gabe, for joining me for the last time. Because no, I'm kidding. He'll be back very soon. And any final words?
I just think that I'm just really excited for this year. I think the next month and a half is going to be so exciting for Eurovision. You know, obviously the amount of song, obviously, because I love the season of national finals, but also for me personally, as a British fan, seeing all the details emerge about what the contest is going to look like in my own country.
Yeah. It's like almost feels like a once in a lifetime opportunity, doesn't it? Like moment. Potentially, I don't know.
Yeah, I just hope we can do this again soon as the winners. And you know, and exactly. But who knows? You know, we're on a bit of a high right now. We could go one better. And imagine if the UK won in the UK, that arena would be wild.
If you're the next Netherlands or Italy, you know, you just keep working on it until you hit the mark, right? Because it's hard. Sometimes you get lucky, like Portugal or Finland, you know, and then but. Put forward quality and then it'll happen. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching again. I'll be back next week for the post Super Saturday discussion. I hope to see you there. Until then,